Yo, what is happening, everybody? Welcome to episode 93. We're starting off with a mistake. I said 94. I apologize. It's 93. I'm anxious to get to 100. Jump the gun a little bit. Jazz Wizard is in the house. Mr. Ordinary is in the house. Sir Collect a Lot is in the house tonight. Stormico, what's going on, my man? We're going to handle a little business first before we get into Suki. What's going on, man? Grayskull Toys, Bliss Receptor, everybody showing up tonight. Thank you very much. Dylan Clement, my man, what is going on? Dylan Clement, you will have, uh, you know what? That's somebody else. I was going to say you'll have your giveaway showing up here pretty soon, but that is Adrift Slightly. Cameron was the guy that I was thinking of for that one. Tonight, big show tonight. We got, we're going to go over a few things. We're going to go over some upcoming shows that are coming out. We're going to go over some pieces. We're going to talk to Sir Collect a Lot. We're going to do 3 giveaways tonight. Let's see what we got going on. Yeah, Sir Collect a Lot, new work from Epoch Art, Kier's Customs, Pocket Salsa. 3 giveaways tonight going out. So first things first. Thanks for showing up. Again, this is episode 93, not 94. My fault on that. Let's get into it right away. And we're going to, let's see what's going on in the comments here real quick. Ocular Rhombus, and Ocular Caviar. Holy smokes. Yeah, Ocular Rhombus says too many oculars. You got that right. 2's good. Yes. Cool Cat. What is going on, my man? Let's take a look at some upcoming shows. If you don't know, there's a lot of shows coming up in the next couple months. March, especially. March, we have 3. Technically 2, but the first one is going to be on February 29th, which is next week. That's going to be Apocalyptico 3. Lab Monkey 9 will be here. We're going to cover over 70 artists, including Making a Mutant, who has gosh, I believe there's probably at least a dozen folks in that one. Let's take a look at some of these shows coming up here. All right. So the first one, like I said, next week, February 29th, Lab Monkey 9 will be here. We're going to go over Apocalyptico 3 in detail. Look at all those artists on there. There is a lot of folks on there. That's going to be a really fun night. Healy Made is in there. I just saw that. I didn't notice that before. Hurt Toys, Hella Radical. Oh my goodness, there's so many people in that show. That's going to be a great one. Make sure you tune in next week for that. That's going to be that show's probably going to be longer than 2 hours, just because there's so many people to cover. But that is probably my favorite online show currently going right now. And it's going to be another one. The first 2 were absolutely fantastic. The next one, this one is going to be awesome too. So next week, there's going to be a pre-show for that. If you look, 6 p.m. Eastern on Instagram, that's going to be 3 o'clock Pacific time. Lab Monkey 9 will be going on. I believe Kaja Key Toys is going to be in there as well. I'm going to see a few different people popping up and talking about their pieces, and then jump on over to Toys Alive at 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern, and we'll go through those one by one. That's going to be a killer night, so join us for that one. Sewer Showdown is another one. Sewer Showdown, that one is on TMNT Day, actually, is what that is, on the 19th, March 19th. I believe that's a Tuesday, 6 p.m. Central. Another one with a ton of artists. And I don't think that's actually all the artists that are on there. I think there's actually more than that. There was a ton of artists that came out. And then there was another poster that came out that had even more people on it. So that's going to be a good one. Sewer Showdown. That one is an open call. I don't know if it's done yet, if the call is done yet, but if you're wanting to get in the show, reach out to Dimension X. That's going to be presented by him. It's a great looking show. I mean, the subject there, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's going to be a fun one. Lots of people in that one as well. Take a look. We'll do that one. The other one I don't have a post for because there hasn't been a post for it. But the next one is Robot Resurrection, and that one is March. That was an Easter Sunday actually. That one is done by Ocular Rhombus, and that one again is an open call. So if you're looking for a show to get into and you're into robots, jump into that one. That one's going to be super super cool. I will have Ernie on. We haven't quite worked out the details yet, but Vomiting Droids, what's up, dude? Vomiting Droids, Total Resin Death. Retro Zone Neon, what's going on, man? Ocular Rhombus says the signups for that are still open. If you want to jump into that, make sure you get in there ASAP. Again, that one's going to be on Easter Sunday. That one's presented by Ocular Rhombus. We will do something on the show for that one. Folklore, what's going on? And that's what we got for shows coming up. If you'll notice behind me, take a look at that. Take a look at that new thing we got going on. That right there was a birthday gift courtesy of my best friend on the face of the earth, Hurt Toys. If you're not following Hurt Toys, make sure you're following Hurt Toys. He is going to be in the upcoming Apocalyptico 3 show. That's going to be awesome. But again, boom. Thank you again, Luke, for that one. Yeah, it's not bad, man. Thank you, Retrozone Neon. That's it's a cool one, man. Little branding there. Kind of like it. Sweet. There's a little bottom ticker about the shows again, just real quick. Apocalyptico 3. Tune in for a deep dive for us into the pieces. Going to go through each one of those. Sewer Showdown, and then again Ocular Rhombus with the Robot Resurrection. And if you want to get in Robot Resurrection, hit up Ocular Rhombus. All right, moving right along. So tonight, Sir Collect-A-Lot. If you're not following Sir Collect-A-Lot, I did not realize. You would figure that somebody that has 20,000 followers has probably been around for a long time. Not true as far as making pieces goes. We're looking at probably around the same time that a lot of us came in here was around 2020. So we're going to get him in here and talk to him about that. Thank you, DNS. Appreciate that, buddy. Thank you, Mr. Ordinary. Thank you, Ocular. I am 45 years of age as of the 20th. And Sadat, thank you very much, man. Are we both on the 20th, DNS? I did not know that, man. That's very cool. All right, let's get Sir Collect-A-Lot. Are you ready, my friend? All right, let's bring in Sir Collect-A-Lot. Like I was saying, you would think that somebody with 20,000 followers has been around for quite a long time as far as doing toys. Not the case. We're going to ask him all about that and see what's going on. Bam, Sir Collect-A-Lot. Here we go. And there.
How's it going?
How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. How are you? You're in New York, is that correct?
I'm in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
The other new one. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So like I was just saying, actually, before we get started, for those who don't know, maybe some of us are living under a rock or on a different planet at the moment. Introduce yourself. Who are you and what do you do?
Thank you. My name is Miles McAlpin. I live in New Hampshire. I grew up outside of Boston. And as you were saying, I got into toys around 2020, a little bit before, I think, as a collector and as a follower of other artists, and then started making them as a pandemic hobby. And then 3 years later, I'm doing it full time now.
Nice. So if I read that correctly, on your, or I was just kind of snooping around on your page there, you were in the travel industry. Is that correct before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, exactly. I've been working in marketing in a few different areas for I guess it would have been 10 or 12 years before I met toys. So I was the most recent gig was doing email marketing and social media for a travel company. And obviously, when the pandemic hit, they took a hit as well. And I actually got furloughed for 3 months. So I was, you know, given this new time and schedule to figure out how to spend my time. And I kind of felt like this was a very accessible hobby. It's something that I thought that the overhead for purchasing a set of paints, finding old figures, um, clay, and other things that wouldn't really break the bank to get to try out. And then kind of took off from there. I started this first again as like a place to share toys that I was collecting, and then started making them and started sharing them. And I at first didn't have any plans to sell them, and then I started getting offers on them, and I started auctioning them off. I started getting requests for commissions, and then it just kind of felt like there was enough interest in my work to be able to try to do it full time. And I left my job shortly thereafter.
Nice. Now, before 2020, was there any interest in had that even crossed your mind at any point before 2020 to either do something with toys or do something with art as opposed? I mean, that's a big contrast. You're talking travel industry, and actually, I think for a lot of us, it is. I think we all have regular day jobs. Most of us do, and a lot of the times they are just completely different than what's going on in this community. Was there any indication to you that you wanted to do that before 2020, even as just like a little side hobby?
Not really. Definitely a couple other people that I had knew followed different toy accounts, and I would send them stuff and bounce ideas, bounce jokes with them, like, what if I did this kind of thing, for sure. Which I think a lot of people say all the time. I'd love to get into this. And um, so definitely there was this kind of like, I have ideas. It's easy to kind of sit back and think, oh, I could write a screenplay someday. I have ideas for it. I have ideas for toys that I think would be funny, popular, interesting, whatever. And then it kind of just happened that I was given that time to do it. And I think that's kind of where I went with it. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but
Yeah, I mean, I did read that. I had if you look at the bottom ticker there, everybody that's watching right now, if you go to Sir Collect a Lot's page and then you click on the link and you go to just follow the links, and you'll end up seeing a list of interviews that were actual. There were some live ones, and then there's some just written ones. You'll see a lot of those in there too. So I encourage everybody to jump in there. There's also there's some merch in there. There's some hot sauce in there. Tell me about that hot sauce, man. What's going on with that?
a friend of mine that has a hot sauce company. I just thought, why can't I make Sir Collect a hot? And I made Sir Collect a Lot hot sauce, and sold out a while back. It was great stuff. And I don't know. I'll take any opportunity to work with somebody on anything that I think would be fun. And hot sauce was a random one, but it just, was a fun one. And I got to
You know
do it.
what's funny, man, is even though hot sauce is a random one, you're the third guest now who makes their own hot sauce.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
you, General Porpoise, and then there's another guy, Uncle Spank, Uncle Spank is actually out of Atlanta, and he
Cool.
used to be a chef, and he makes some stuff, and it was blazing hot. General Porpoise, I don't know if you follow him or not, but he's a phenomenal artist, and he had a couple different brands. So it's funny how you have that's such a random one, but it's popped up multiple times here in the last year or so.
Yeah, that's great.
So taking a look at your page, man, you got 300 something odd posts, over 20,000 views. I mean, that ratio is just astounding. If you look through your page, a lot of your stuff, I would say the majority of your stuff, it's all pop culture based stuff. We always talk about, or something that I always think about, of how just daily events in the world are um, basically a canvas for people to make pieces and whatnot. And then I also read that, sometimes you're just kind of scrolling through the daily news and what's going on Instagram. If you see something that catches your eye, that's funny, you'll make a piece for it. Do you think that is I mean, it just seems like a never-ending machine of content, pretty much, right?
100%. I think that, especially to go back to when I, didn't wasn't treating this like a job, and I wasn't relying, to fast forward, I definitely now have a pretty busy schedule of commissioned work that doesn't allow me to kind of sit back and think of my own fun, dumb ideas, or do what you're kind of referring to, which is jump on to um, a meme or something that's going viral. I still definitely tried my best to make time for that whenever I can, but certainly when I was getting started, that was where I found the most interest in creating art. Was, you know, there were times when I would see something going viral, stay up late that night, into the early morning to get it done the next day. Some people might have seen my piece before they saw the actual piece that it was referencing, which I
Right.
just thought was a really fun kind of way to step into that meme itself and kind of coast into that whatever was going viral at the time. And I think
Yeah.
it's just something that my art is fully based off of Instagram. Like I started there and I still run auctions there. I've, meet people that I collaborate with there. So because all my work is being shared there, it's part of that, you know, highway of information and images and videos and viral things that people are getting all the time. So I just kind of like the idea of weaving myself into that sometimes.
Nice. And so when there's there's a few artists that I can think of that are similar to what you do, not identical, but similar as far as just kind of the pop culture carded figures.
Yep.
Um, when something when an event happens, do you feel a sense of urgency to get your piece out there? And is it like, okay, time out, whatever I'm working on right now needs to stop, and I need to focus all my attention on this? You said you were staying up late to get that piece out. Is there something in you that wants to be the first one, or at least get it out there like ASAP?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, yeah. Especially when I had kind of a little more time that was only dedicated to riding a wave like that, it would be something that I would happily, make sure that I finished that night in an effort to get it out first. You know, it's no fun to kind of see someone else get it out there. And if I was all the way through, there's a lot of fun tension around this, right? That people talk
Yeah,
about, like, oh, someone did this, you did this. It's like if I'm already, 75% through it or even less, I'm still going to put it out there if somebody finishes it first.
sure.
Um, but if I haven't even started and I had it on my list, someone gets to it first, I probably won't do it. I think that there is something to just getting it out quickly, and even in the notion of time, even if someone else didn't beat me to it, you know, just the way our brains work, like that's probably in one ear and out the other within a couple days anyways, which is actually sometimes when I've tried to sell pieces like that, like it doesn't work as well because it's just all about that one moment. And maybe you catch it and maybe you do get paid well for it. And then if it doesn't sell right away, it's might be a harder piece to sell later just because it kind of was such a flash in the pan.
Yeah. Do you ever is there ever a time where maybe you're involved in something where you have an idea, but you see somebody else comes out and maybe one or two other ones come out? Is there any point where you are looking at a piece and you're starting to work on a piece and maybe kind of laying out the framework for a piece, and then you just kind of put the brakes on and say, I'm not going to do it. There's already one or two out there. I'm going to pass. I'm going to jump onto something else.
I've definitely had to do that a couple times. Yeah. Um, Again, if I was already getting into it, I'd probably try to finish it and get it out there quickly. And the way Instagram works now, like there's the lack of chronological order means that someone could see mine that comes out a day later before the one that the person that did it a day or two before. So there's something to that kind of creates a little bit more free reign there, I think. Um, Definitely if it's like something that's like a viral moment on TV or something, and if I don't plan to do it that night, I'll definitely skip it. And especially if somebody beats me to it, I think that just like exists in that one night, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, there was this guy named Dogface that was this guy that went viral skateboarding, drinking, cranberry juice and
Yeah, yeah,
listening
right,
to
right, right. Yeah.
Stevie Nicks. That was one where I saw it go viral, and I was like, "This thing's gonna blow up." And I was probably just a few hours or half a day behind it, and that was one where I spent the night, stayed up to get it out there. And I think honestly, people may have seen mine before they saw that, and kind of came back to see the reference of it and things like that. And that was just an example of one that wouldn't have lasted too much longer, probably, in the internet. And I was able to get that to him, and he posted it. And so that's kind of back to where I built this following. Certainly earlier on, I was very quick to do work and try to get it in the hands of people in the hopes that they would share it. And that's was super helpful in helping to build the follow I've made in the last 3 years.
Gotcha. The other thing, that the Guy Fieri piece. So you talked about Dogface and then Guy Fieri. Have a lot of these ended, or have a lot of these ended up in celebrities' hands? I've seen a couple of them, and then what kind of happens after that? Do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? How does that whole interaction work?
That's a great question. Early on, I was definitely not concerned with the financial aspect of making toys. I didn't have a concept of it. I didn't know what they should cost, what they would cost, and I'm charging now 10 times what I even did for my first few commissions. But in at that time, I was just interested in getting it out there, getting their attention, either online attention where they might share it and I never hear from them, or they might reach out and say, "Hey, I love this." The Guy Fieri one, for example, that wasn't Guy that reached out to me. It was another chef that had found it, DM'd me and said, "Can I buy this?" It was actually a piece that I had already sold in an auction. So I reached out to the person that won the auction and I said, "Hey, if you're cool with it, I'm going to make another one of these. I'm going to make it a variant. It's going to be different. The coloring was different on both the figure and the art as well. So that it was obviously a variation." And then he was like, "So you're telling me and Guy Fieri are going to be the only two people that own this?" And I said, "Yes, I can guarantee that." So he bought it off me, took it to give it to Guy, and then next thing I know, Guy tagged me in a picture on Instagram of a selfie of him holding the toy. So,
Nice.
and there's no kind of playbook to figuring out how to do that. I think I had the social media background, so I obviously had interest in
Yeah.
the potential there. And again, like I had also had a pretty good Photoshop background. When you're asking about like how did I kind of learn about this world, I had a bit of a design background. As you can tell, I'm not, Mr. Design. These are not the most stylized things, but I found out what worked for me based on the skill set that I had, and it's constantly changing. I've watched hundreds of YouTube videos over the years about sculpting, about painting, about, someone else already tried 20 different glues for plastics. Why am
Mm.
I going to try 20 different ones when I can find out what's out there? And so a lot of that, definitely a few people that were willing to talk about their process. Some people aren't. It's another one of those funny things about the toy world. There is some people that are wonderful, super willing to share anything and everything. And then there's a lot of gatekeeping too. So a lot of it I did figure out on my own. A lot I was, helped out with people being willing to chat about it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've talked about on the show before, man, is the whole gatekeeping thing. And I think with the internet and Instagram and how much information is out there, um, I think that people can probably hold back, what they want for as long as they want. But like you said, there's a way out there, and the process is out there somewhere. If not, you can certainly figure it out on your own, and so it kind of takes that whole gatekeeping thing out of it. Um,
Totally.
Going back to the art part where you're actually sculpting pieces, is that something that you had in your background before? Is that all self-taught?
All self-taught, and I'm not sculpting figures for anyone that kind of is new to this world. I do kit bashing where I'm using old parts as the base, and I will Frankenstein together legs from one, a torso from another, head from another, arms from another, or not. Or I may use a piece, especially early on, where all I had to do was add a little clay to change something that I wanted, and I used figure, the base figure was the base figure, and I repainted it to look how I wanted it to look. There's a huge degree of variation there where, especially if I wanted to get something out quickly, I may not have the time where I would want to spend creating something that I felt had to be perfect, but I wanted to get it out and share it. Again, especially when I wasn't selling pieces, I was quick to do that. But yeah, so back to your question, I definitely had no hands-on sculpting, painting, anything like that. Sanding, like there's so many little parts of this process that there are YouTube videos out there for. That's the thing.
Yeah. Do you think that doing current event stuff, just from what I've noticed, it seems like the current event pop culture stuff really takes off. And a good example of it is when I was at DesignerCon last year in excuse me, in Anaheim. The DKE booth has lots of carded figures, and a lot of the stuff there is based on current events, and that and pop culture alone. But that booth is always just packed with people, and I think that really draws in kind of people from the outside that aren't necessarily into toys and figures as collectors, but they want to catch the lightning, just like you're doing, making it. They want to buy something and say, "Hey, look what I got! This is current. This is new. This is cool." Do you think there's an advantage on your end when it comes to not only follower count but sales? And I mean, you said that you're doing this full time now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can answer from there. Definitely. Like I know that there is a benefit, especially in an auction case.
Yeah.
An auction requires two people that really want something. That's it. If you find two people and you've hit like something that your specific interest resonates with two other people and they want to chase that, it can help you run up an auction very, very easily. And so, you know, I don't often think what's going to sell before, certainly not 51% or more. I'm definitely thinking about it in creating an idea. There's ideas that I would love to make that don't always come to life because it is probably something that maybe I would just want. But if there's, you know, the Seinfeld, Sopranos, the big hitters that I have interest in as well, that I also know are going to resonate really well with people and probably sell for something that I'd be very happy with. So there definitely is something to that I'm always thinking about for sure.
Yeah. Dude, the Seinfeld, man. I am a huge Seinfeld fan. Kajiki Toys, he's also in the chat, man. He's a phenomenal artist, but he's a huge Seinfeld fan too. I think that if you probably go back through all of our episodes, you'll catch one or two Seinfeld references probably in every show.
That's awesome.
We do. So now getting down to your the making of the figures, are you just you're kit bashing and repainting and then adding some sculpt? Are you doing any molding and casting?
I'm not personally. I have tried it and I've made a mess of my kitchen, my garage on multiple occasions trying. Early on, especially when I just felt like that's what you had to do, because I came into this seeing, you know, DKE and seeing that was the process of creating. Instantly when you see, oh, these people are releasing 10 to 25 figures, they're not kit bashing 25 figures. They're creating one and having that cast to, you know, 10 or 25 times. So obviously I felt like if I want to be doing this the way people are doing it, you know, I need to figure that out. So I did try it a couple times to varied success. And now I just, you know, at some point I just acknowledge that I am happy to do one-offs. I think that there is something that putting one of one on the back of a figure helps it sell. It not even just helps it sell, it feels more special to a collector. As a collector myself, especially early on, when a piece showed up that was numbered, hand numbered, one of one on the back instead of one of 25 or more, you know, there just is something to that and also again, I'm admitting that I didn't have a way of replicating my figures at the time.
Sure.
To shout out DKE again, Dove and a few folks that he's introduced me to have allowed me to take one of ones, create it for a client as a prototype, and then ship it off to him, and he'll help me to then have it replicated to 25 100, 200 pieces, which has totally made this an actual business for me. There's a super, lowish ceiling of figures that I can make. I hang out with my son 9 to 5 while my wife works, and then we have dinner together, we hang out. Then that's when I start working, and I'll work 9 to 1 a.m. and beyond. But I can only make so many figures every week. But being able to have somebody like Dove help me to kind of corral a few other artists to replicate my work has allowed me to take on much bigger orders and make a lot more money off a single project than I otherwise would. So to answer your question, no, I don't have any. I don't do any casting at all right now. And
Gotcha.
yeah.
So the work that you do with Dove, can you give me an example of a piece that you've sent to him or that people have made multiples of for you?
Yeah, like I've been working with a couple different record labels on. They will reach out to me about artists that they manage, and they'll generally just request one figure to start. And I'm going to charge for one. We're going to start with one no matter what. I want to make sure they're fully happy with it, and I also want to get paid with that one. I don't want to kind of factor that into a bigger thing, and they may well potentially change their mind at some stage. So I always start with one, and then they usually get that artist sign off, the manager sign off, and then they'll come back to me and say, "Hey, let's make." It's usually for that kind of thing. It's like 20 to 25 pieces. It's usually more like something that they're planning to give away. It's just something that's like for social media and something that's going to be, an add-on to people that buy the record or whatever it may be. So I've been really lucky to meet some folks at a couple record labels that I will get consistently hit up to do pieces for in that kind of numbers range. So
That's awesome,
yeah.
man. Is there any part of you that, and maybe it's increased or decreased over the years, that when that happens and somebody reaches out from a record label, is there any part of you that goes, "Wow, man, holy shit, dude! I can't believe that this guy called and wants some figures from me."
Totally. Every time, like anytime I get a DM that's, I mean, I've mentioned this a few times in other podcasts and stuff. So some people may laugh, but Rick Ross DM'd me once and
Oh,
asked me
wow.
to make a toy for him, and to just get a DM like that, or even secondarily through an artist that's requesting it, or a manager that's requesting it, or the label that it still does. It fully legitimizes what I do in a really special way. This is a very isolating job, which I know that there's a bunch of artists sitting there watching this, and I'm sure this resonates with them, but I don't have too many people that I talk to about toys. My wife, has heard enough of it and is happy to let me talk about some stuff, but
Yeah.
also doesn't totally understand some of the stuff too.
Right.
I've gotten to make friends with a couple other artists that will always listen to, but there is something that just feels really special about, this, for example, man, this is totally legitimizing the past, several years of doing this. That just makes me feel like I'm actually a part of this community, and that I am, being asked to talk about my work, my art, which was a really hard thing for me to talk about. I think I had imposter syndrome about calling it art for the first couple of years of doing it too. And now I am happy to take on that name and that role. But yeah, to answer your question, like, it just, anytime that someone does reach out, I do sometimes have to remind myself of that. It's very easy to focus on the things that go wrong and the jobs that fall through and the people that don't post your work, don't share your work, don't follow up with you when you make something
Sure.
for them, things like that. And that's going to continue to happen too. So you have to be fully prepared for that to happen. Just as much as things are going to go right, they're going to go wrong. So you always got to try and I don't listen to my own advice here, but you got to try to definitely soak up those wins as much as possible, for sure.
Yeah, exactly, man. And going back to what you were saying about it being art, I had a really good conversation with Dove just a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about that this really is art, and the medium is action figures or carded figures or whatever it is. So it is just another kind of art. But it's funny how until you get into this kind of community, a lot of people, you're right, man, it's isolating because a lot of people, when you say, hey, what do you do in your spare time? And you're like, okay, well, how do I start the conversation of, you start with toys, right? Because that kind of gets you in the realm of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But then you drop in, but they're not like ones that you go to Walmart and see, and then you kind of get into the explanation of the whole art part. And nobody else really understands it until you get into this community and start talking to people like yourself, and other artists and people and buyers, um, and just fans of this stuff. There's just not, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of them out there. Excuse me, until you get into this community, then you're like, wow, there really is a pretty big community as far as, action figures and carded figures go. Um, Jumping back to, just the assembly of the figures, your cards. You said they're pretty simple, but they look super clean. I have cards, and the quality of the card is really, I think, it is kind of an art form in its own. Um, has that been a gradual process for you too, where maybe you made the first one and it started to delaminate or something? You're like, ah, this is all wrong. I got to do this over again.
Yeah, and that changes all the time too. Like I started out just trying to figure out, like, can I pay somebody to do this? Like, could I go to Kinko's and things like that? And then actually in the pandemic, like I couldn't just be, I remember thinking, like, when we were all like, should we go to the grocery, in the early days, it's like, can we do this? Can we do that? I was like, I don't want to have to go to Kinko's or FedEx, especially if there's a mistake on something or I mess it up later. I don't want to have to drive back to do it. So I bought a printer and I invested in nice paper, and I use photo paper. I like that kind of glossy, um, semi-glossy, like photorealistic look, which isn't exactly what most toys are. And I think that there's a benefit to both for sure. But kind of that's what I went with. And it kind of accidentally just became my style and has fit my work since then. And that's kind of just what I've always ran with. And, shout
Yeah.
out to Google image search for doing the legwork too, man. Like, especially when I'm doing something film related, pop culture related,
Mm,
I'm not creating these images.
right.
I'm sourcing images that I know within my skill set I can make look like Dr. Phil on Kill Bill's body. So there are
Right.
just things that I'm working within my own skill set to bring to life. And I've thrown away a lot of projects that I wasn't happy enough because I didn't have a skill set to bring to life. And there are ideas that are a lot of people who can do hand drawings or digital drawings that they're able to illustrate themselves from the idea to the final product that I can't always do. So I'm kind of just working within what I know that I can do and that I'll be happy with, and hopefully it'll resonate with people.
Excuse me. When you're kit bashing a figure, how important is it to you to try to get similar body styles to actually what you're doing the piece of? Um, there's a lot of figures that I've seen out there where, excuse me, it's more about the, I think it's more about the idea, and it's just kind of like a good backer, and then the figure is just kind of like, whatever. But yours, it seems like you've nailed it on both of them. You have really good cards, and your figures are great. And they're kit bash, and they're all, and you're repainting all of these, is what I'm assuming, is what I saw, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'll either, so I'll start with sourcing the right parts, kind of, like I said, Frankensteining together with glue. And then I will sand off glue that, is in the wrong place at that point, or sand off parts that I don't want, that the original part, the original arm might have had something on it, the original legs might have had something on it. Then I will add new parts with clay. I'll let that dry. Then I'll sand everything off really nicely, sand off, anything that just imperfections, things like that. And then I'll either spray it with primer or I'll just wash it and paint over it, which works completely fine for the most
Yeah.
part, depending on the materials that the figure was made from originally. Yeah, so that's my general process. I also, when I started this, I would look through parts that I wanted to inspire the work, and I would come up with ideas. Oh, this figure reminds me a little bit of this, and these.
Sure.
Okay, I could use these body parts. Again, I have to work backwards on that when it's a commission, when someone brings their idea to me, and I have to bring the figure to life. But in the case of my own fun stuff, sometimes I'll just go when I have like a couple of days where I know I don't have to start another project, and I can go through my bins of parts and be like, let's see what comes up. Let's see what I can bring to life from something that's just sitting in a box right here.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That was going to be my next question is, does it ever work in reverse like that where, and you just kind of answered it, where you see a figure and you're like, oh, that kind of looks like, a good example of that was somebody in the comments when we were doing the giveaway post. By the way, thanks everybody for chiming in on that giveaway post. I think we had 40 or 41 entries, and I think that's probably
Awesome.
the most that we've had in the last few weeks. But I mean, if you just go to that thread and you start looking through it, and dude, good on you. This guy, I think you replied to every single person that posted a piece of yours, dude. That
I
was
tried to. Yeah, if they're talking about my work, I'm always happy to do that. I appreciate it so much. So
yeah. But like they're kind of working in reverse like that. That's cool. That's I think you're talking about a lot of stuff that I don't know if there's too many people out there that are doing it on the level that you are. I think there's a lot of um, people that do a little bit of both. They kind of do just regular figures, and then they do the pop culture stuff every now and then. But man, you are nailing it on every aspect. Um,
thank you, man. I
Yeah, you
appreciate
got it.
that.
Is the and lots of support at home, I'm guessing. I mean, what a freaking job, man. You get to stay at home and hang out with the kid from 9 to 5, and you're kind of doing your own thing later on at night.
Yeah, man, and it happened that it's hard to find a job that works from 9 till 2 a.m. It's really hard to find one that I wouldn't go absolutely crazy trying to do. So having already had this, hobby turned job, it's kind of solidified that time as I know that I can put energy into, you know, making enough money to take care of my family in those hours, making toys a lot more so than I could trying to find an alternative job, especially in those hours that I have to work right now. So
Yeah,
some of it was kind of just the circumstance that forced my hand to really figure out how to pay rent making toys. And I've just kind of kept that up. And sometimes the bills and the future planning totally dictates the workload. It has to sometimes. So it's not like
sure.
I'm just totally crack the code at all. And I'm constantly like talking what I said about working with Dove to help replicate my figures. It's been necessary to get to where I want to be, and I'll continue to kind of figure out new ways to have to do that.
Um, and that'll lead me to my next question, man. Going forward, do you ever see that kind of slowing down at any point? And then if it does, um, do you ever see yourself going back to the industry that you came from, or is it like toys full speed ahead? This is what I'm doing, and this is my new thing. I'm going to make it work one way or the other. You've made it work already over the last 4 years. Is that kind of the plan going forward?
Yeah, I mean it is. I think for now, as long as, like I said, kind of this makes more than what I could otherwise be making, at least in this kind of current schedule I have, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep finding ways to work with brands that are able to pay me a lot more money than certain one-off commissions do. And I don't always want to do those. I want to make the fun, dumb ideas that you see around me that I could stay up late and get inspired by an episode of TV and bring to life. Those are always so much more fun, but
Yeah.
I've definitely had to kind of play the game of figuring out other ways to balance that financially for sure. Especially, I don't know if this resonates with you, but things were really I came in at a perfect time. I was seeing auctions go off that to not my current auctions don't even get, you know, I don't want to say get close to, but it's a just totally different ballgame. And everything saw that. I feel like in the collectibles, sports cards had the crazy run at the beginning.
Right.
So it's just Yeah, I don't even know where I was going with that, except to say that you just always have to play the game. I can't rely on those one-offs to go for 500-600 bucks. A lot of mine will now end around $100, and I'm happy with that. And I know that going into it now, I have to kind of then I can't do 3 of my own auctions that week. I have to do 2 commissions and 1 fun auction to kind of keep
Gotcha.
engaged with the toy community. And I love to post on Instagram as well. I'd love to kind of see what a post might take off. So I want to kind of keep that following engaged, as well as kind of also making sure that I'm getting enough commission work on the side.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I remember I don't know who did it, man. Do you remember that Bernie Sanders piece? Somebody did a Bernie Sanders piece, and that thing went for, gosh, man, I remember I kept on checking the auction. That thing went for, man, I want to say up maybe north of $800,
Yeah, that's
something like
awesome.
that. And that's exactly what it is, man. And I think it's the real, what you said in the auction. I mean, even the digital auction, right? It's the same thing as an in-person auction. If you go, you see these shows on TV all the time where people go to auction and maybe they get under what they thought.
Sure.
And then there's other ones where you get two people that are in a bidding war and it just keeps on going and going. Is there ever a time where something sells and you're like, I wish I wish I would have just put a tag on it. You do that, right? You have other pieces that I've seen on your site that have just a tag and that don't go up for auction, right?
Yeah, there's a few pieces that either went up early on and um, the person didn't end up following through with paying, or there was, I'll admit there was times when something was just Instagram didn't do its thing, and I was like, no, this isn't gonna get me where I am, and I have to cancel the auction. And I'd hit up the people that had bid on it, maybe to explain the situation. That definitely didn't happen more than a couple times, but I'll have to kind of stand by the work that went into it sometimes to pull those off of an auction. But yeah, that's why on my site now I'll have pieces that either, or something that I was hoping to get to a celebrity that I'll give up on the end, and then I'll put that on the site as well. So, which, not to turn this into a advertisement, but I did put up Toys Alive gets you 25% off tonight. Just all
Ooh.
one word, Toys Alive, 25% off the entire site.
Toys
And
Live.
I put on like 6 other pieces that haven't been on the site for months because this inspired me to get some stuff up there.
Nice. So if everybody heard that, if you're looking for a Cirque Collect a Lot piece, enter code Toys Alive for 25% off on his site. What a killer deal, man! Thank you for doing that. That's
Yeah,
really
of course. Of course.
So going back to shows, we talked about a lot of shows at the beginning of this show. Is that something that you do? I mean, it seems like it would be a little bit off if someone gave you, like, let's say, like the Ninja Turtle show, right? Is that something that you would be into, or is that something that you kind of refrain from and you say, no, I'm going to do the one-off pieces, or even a gallery show, man? I think you could do a heck of a gallery show.
Yeah, so galleries have been great to me because a lot of them are happy to let me do one-offs. And even if they want 5 pieces, they're happy with 5 one-offs that don't even have to have anything to do with themselves. They have to do with the theme of that show. Especially Gallery 1988 in LA, they always have really fun, quirky, pop culturally related shows. And I'll do one. They have like probably there's at least something every month. So I bet there's like 10 to 12 shows every year, and they just send me the email. I do one piece and it's specific to that show, specific to that theme, sorry. And everything sells out there. And it's like you said, like I'm not the best fit for some of the cons and some of these things where there are bigger, it'd be hard for me to put together a body of work, except after a while of holding on to pieces, I might have enough to show up and have a table and sell some stuff. But that's where Dove comes in again, is that he's given people this opportunity to go to shows, not me, because I haven't figured out how to play that game yet, but he'll be able to, people that couldn't spend $3,000 on a table at a show, he can allow them to kind of sell their work with him, commission based, and they get their art shown there. They sell it because he's helping to advertise it for them, and he gets a cut. It's perfect. Like, so there is something that I'd love to still figure out a way to kind of continue to be involved with that. And again, because I don't cast, it's really hard for me to put together. Um, I don't know what Dove's current kind of minimum for some of those shows is, but it's always more than I'm really able to put together.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Gosh, when's the last gallery show that you did?
I've got stuff at that gallery 1988 currently. And actually they had me for a solo show, which was awesome too. And that allowed me to keep it pop culture, because that's what, it's definitely marketed as a pop culture gallery. So and toys fit really well into that category. And so I was able to do, I don't know if it was 10 or 12 pieces for something like that. But again, like they'll consistently just kind of keep me on a constant invite for their shows, and I can always find a toy that fits something. They did Stanley Kubrick show. They did like that's on currently. They did like a animal stars, like animals in film show, and I did an Airbud piece for that. And I just get to think of something fun that I want to do that always I can kind of fit into what they're doing. So they've been great. But to go back to kind of what you hinted at before, some galleries don't get this stuff. They don't really understand how
Yeah.
to promote toys and how to treat toys and how to kind of treat artists either in that same way, or treat toy artists that are different from how they treat someone that is selling a $5,000 painting with them. So you have to find the right folks. And again, shout out Gallery 1988. They've been great to me, and it's just a really good fit.
Nice. Is that frustrating, man, when people, when you're starting to talk to somebody and you tell them exactly what it is and they see it, like sometimes, man, like, when people ask me about the show or kind of this stuff, right?
Yep.
You can kind of see it in their face, man. They just kind of lose interest sometimes. Some people are really like, oh, this is great. Other people, you just see the interest just kind of leaving their body, and you're like, oh man, how frustrating is that? And then when that happens, do you feel an obligation to say, okay, I need to explain this to them now so they get it? Or do you say, you know
Good
what,
question.
you don't get it, you don't get it, that's cool, I'm moving on, I'll go to somebody else?
Good question. I think that a little bit of both, and I sometimes will try to pick my battles, and I'll still try to, especially early on when I told you I didn't really consider myself an artist, and I really didn't, this wasn't really a business. I definitely would ignore the question or kind of change the subject kind of thing if it came up that I just didn't really feel comfortable sitting back and talking about it. And 3 years later, it's part of this whole process that I can now sit here and talk to you about it for an hour plus, so
Yeah.
is that kind of answering your question?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's jump to something completely different, dude. Being a dad, um, how do you find that balance? I don't know how old your child is. Is he just one?
He'll be two
Oh,
in two
okay. So he has
in 2 hours. Tomorrow's his birthday.
nice, nice. Another Pisces. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, man. My daughter's a Pisces too.
Awesome.
She's in the first part of March, but she's 17 and my son's 19. So
Cool.
they're a little bit ahead. But is that something that ever comes across your mind, that something that they might want to get into, or is it not even a thought at this moment?
For him to want to get into toys?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he can make it a nightmare to try to work near him because he just sees them as toys and he just wants
Right.
to grab them. Man, I've had like a piece that maybe I've spent like for a very good client, and I've spent maybe a week on every night, kind of putting together, making it perfect, making their changes, adding things, taking things away by their feedback, right? Because it was a part of what was going to be a huge order. And then I'll just be like in the kitchen making coffee, and then look over, and then he just has a fistful of my figure that I left out somewhere drying or whatever that I shouldn't have left out. But yeah, he loves them. He daddy's guys. He says, he's like daddy's guys, because he is his guys. He's got He gets a lot of hand-me-downs, trust me.
Yeah.
But he's starting to kind of figure out the difference between his guys and daddy's guys.
Yeah, big difference there, right? Holy smokes. So what's around the corner for you, man? What do you got on tap? Actually, you know what? What do you have behind you? I keep on looking at those. What do you got
I've
behind
got
you?
so this is like I said, I'm bad at keeping stuff on hand. A wise man once told me everything's for sale. I don't love holding on to stuff
Mm,
for too long. Everything's for sale, whether I say it is or not. You can figure out a way for it to be for sale. This is one of my favorite pieces I've ever done. It's Andre 3000, but it's just Andre 300, obviously like as, a character from 300. And I've been sitting on it. I priced it at 300 specifically to make sure that that's just what it's going to go for, if only for the joke. And yeah, so that's I think all of these are on the site. This actually I just did today. So I'm gonna auction this off probably tomorrow, this Curb Your Enthusiasm piece. So no one's seen that yet. That's a Toys Alive exclusive right there. This is a Liar Liar piece that came back from an art show that didn't sell and is now up on the site. Jurassic Mark, like you were saying about like, are there ideas that you see someone else do and you kind of pause, and
yeah.
that never has to be the case really, because I can always put a dumb pun twist on the idea and bring it to life in a totally new way that'll be original to me, that no one would question, me following them up with that kind of thing. And those are kind of my favorite toys. Kill Phil again, Dr. Phil, and then Tragic Mike, little Magic Mike.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
So yeah, that's like, a lot of these are just my ideas that I kind of have to get out of my head and bring to life, and hopefully they resonate with people, and if they don't, that's okay too. But that's usually what my process would usually entail, especially if I was just only able to just make things for me.
Nice. I'm gonna pull up your account here real quick, man, just so we can kind of scroll through it a little bit and take a
Cool.
look at some of this work. Um, a lot of people commented on a lot of these pieces. The American History Shreks was a great one. Um, the Rick Astley, that one sold recently. I saw that
Yeah,
one. I showed that one to my daughter. She loves Rick Astley. That's a great one. The Wolf
awesome.
of Wall Street, very popular. In the comments, the Airbud is great. Seinfeld with his jacket on like that. I'm walking out of here thinking you paid over $700 if you.
Exactly.
Man, this one is great too. The girlfriend that goes to another school.
Thank you.
Somebody
Yeah,
somebody had commented that one could actually be an empty blister as well.
exactly. I know that
Yeah,
you were on the DKA Toys, show, that you guys were talking about empty blister
yeah,
toys, and I maybe have to bring that back and do some of those, just because it's such a easy thing to create.
it is, man. You know, my favorite one that I have is it's actually from Retro Gimmick, and it's a Seinfeld. It's Art Vandelay, and
Oh,
it's an
awesome.
empty blister. You know, and
Awesome.
but the funny thing is you could also do another Art Vandelay. If you remember on the very last episode, the judge who was judging them, he was Art Vandelay,
Ends
and
up
George,
being him, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
George thought it was a great that they had an in, and they sure did not. Stavros, I love Stavros. Stavi's great.
I actually put that up on the website. That was one where I was like, "I gotta get this to him," and then it never happened, so I just put that up on the site, actually. I don't It'll be hard to part with that one, but it's so good.
Yeah, that is a great one. The Christmas Story, You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, with actually where he shot his eye out. The Home Alone and Home Alone 2 characters, those are
Oh,
great.
yeah. All I made in December was, obviously, December was, like, busy with Christmas commissions, so then I was like, "What can I just take a lot of the creativity out and just do Home Alone toys for 2 weeks?"
These are great, man. What about pieces like this? Like I call them prop pieces.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
yeah, and those are, I mean, that's a great the tarantula, that's a great one.
Thank
Um,
you.
is that something that you kind of seek out too? Is it just kind of whatever? I mean, it doesn't seem like there's too many of those. A lot of them are figures, but
That one I found that artist. It was like actually no, that's not true. I wanted to do this toy idea. I don't know if I already had the tarantula. I definitely already did have the tarantula, but I don't know if it was finding the tarantula that inspired it or if I had the idea. But then I was like Googling images of it, and I found this Microsoft Paint artist, and I was like, no, I'm gonna hit this guy up. I'm gonna pay him to use his art, and we split the proceeds on the auction, just because I'd rather use someone's cool art than a Google image search if I can do it.
Nice. Look at this. Here's 3 gems in a row. Joe Dirt, MacGruber, and Ollie G.
Well,
Oh,
there's
man.
also it's probably a lot of these are just putting me in a kind of specific age group too, which I think also resonates with the other mostly gentlemen that purchase my toys in the similar age group.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, dude. And you know what? I mean, I look at the analytics for the show all the time, man. And I mean, 25 baiting 8, that was another one. My son works at a store that carries high-end shoes and clothes. And the cost of
Awesome.
those things is always blows me away. And
Oh
baiting
yeah,
8
of
is
course.
uh,
Yeah.
every time he comes home with one of those on, I'm like, well, I know where your paycheck went.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was me until I had a kid myself. So
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. Eastbound and Down, that's another great one. My son and I are about I've watched that whole series. We're about halfway
so
through it
good.
right now. Oh, it's so good, man. But now that he's 19, I feel like he's able
Oh,
to
you got to
watch.
take him through the classics. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, that's so good. That is so good. Just because I hate the Cowboys, that's the only.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Um, Gosh, man, these are so freaking good.
Thanks, man. It's fun to look
The
at. I don't step back and look at them like this, so it's fun to look at.
Yeah, the Edgar, oh, that's the worst haircut ever. One of yourself, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, I actually find it's funny. I posted that and I sold a few of them, and then I didn't do anything with it again, but I just put it on the site yesterday. So there's a few of those left. It's funny,
Nice.
like you were saying, like, do you try to pick things that you think will sell? And anytime that I've done you know, I've done okay with making my own shirts that are branded, but people like this because it's more accessible to not accessible. It's actually paints it in a bad light, but more interesting to specific to their interest than just me as a brand. A lot of people will actually comment things like, "You should actually make this." And they think that I'm just photoshopping a meme. They don't understand that it's a toy. They think it's just memes in an action figure form, but they're real toys.
Oh man, these are great. Corn. I remember the Corn Kid. Oh man, that
Yeah.
was a good one. That kid was all over the place for a minute.
They were gonna they they were gonna give that on the Drew Barrymore show. Found this, and they were gonna give it to the kid on the show, and then they asked me to sign something that said that I had the rights to the image of the child, and I obviously said, "Okay, sorry, enjoy the show. I'm not going to be doing that."
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, see, man, and do you think that when that stuff happens, do you think that is that kind of where the whole "they just don't understand" comes in? When they say, "Look, obviously I don't own the rights to this picture, of course,"
Totally,
you know?
totally. That one made no sense to me, and I was like, "Look, like if you want to, ask his it was like his aunt or something that was bringing him on the show. If you want to ask for permission, great, and then we can give it to him. But I'm not going to just sign this and then hope for the best. I've definitely had a few slap on the wrists by film production companies that are not sure why I'm sharing their using their IP to sell toys, but that's the benefit of doing one of ones. It's either already sold and it's on the other side of the country, or I take it down and I keep it and I sell it to a private collector.
Yeah,
Someone that's bought from me before, and I'm like, hey, I had to take this down, but do you want to buy it? Or
yeah.
on my site, I can't do that as much. I had something that had like the Nike logo on it, and my Shopify got frozen. They stopped doing my payouts until I removed it, and
Oh,
kind of
wow.
wrote, filled out a few forms that said that this was an accident and that I don't actually have I'm not able to resell Nike products or something silly. So that still happens for sure, but that's why I only make one of everything. If I made 100 pieces and then found out that I, had to take something off my site and I couldn't promote them, that could be trouble. But
Yeah, absolutely, man. Ocular Caviar is asking if you have any lawyers' letters.
no, not as far as lawyers. And it's all done through Instagram, which obviously is a platform that I use for business, even though it is a very casual kind of, way to contact somebody. So when it comes through on Instagram, it's always more like, please make sure that you reach out to us before you reproduce anything using the likeness of our film. I've had that happen a couple times. One was Ace Ventura, the people that own Ace Ventura. I was like, okay, it's all good. I just won't do it. But no official lawyers letters. That would actually be more fun because then I could kind of frame that, put it up on the wall.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I was just gonna say, now Kajiki Toys, he's another one that has gone through that. He's experienced that with Sergeant Kabuki, man. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that movie, but he did it's kind of a B movie,
Okay.
kind of a cult classic type movie, and he made a run of those. And I think the company had reached out and said, "Hey, these are great. We love them, but we need to do something. We need to try to make this a little bit more official."
Totally.
Yeah, and I've seen other people that get those letters, and it really is like a badge of honor, man.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
I know,
awesome.
yeah, I know Magoob Toys up in Canada was reproducing those Star Wars figures, just static, like all black, and giving them different names. And he got the whole cease and desist. And what he did was he took the cease and desist letter and actually made that the backer of the card or the header.
Awesome.
Yeah, which was awesome. I thought that was really, really cool.
You just gotta play the game too. Like they know that they're not gonna get any money out of you, so just play nice and just find a way to sell it otherwise, or do it officially with them. Ask them if there's a way that they're not going to charge you the normal IP price for a movie. They're not trying to make money off of you. So, and that's why when brands, I've had a few directors that I've done toys for as promotional toys for their movies, and then obviously when they're coming to me, they're giving me the rights to using it, not officially, but in writing in an email they have. So it's usually pretty safe.
Yeah, and I could see if you were making a ton of these things, but it surprises me that people would be so up in arms over a one-off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, of course.
You may be making, a couple $100. You subtract your material and time out of there, and you're still coming out on top. But you know, maybe it's just more of that it's not licensed. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe it is just somebody's job to do that and to find
Yeah,
these things and message you, and it's just a person on the other end that probably doesn't wanna do it any more than you want them to do it to you, and so
yeah,
it's pretty easy to kind of navigate for the most part, but again, I wouldn't go ahead and take on a very, well-known IP and try to make 100 pieces of it and sell it
right.
on a platform like Shopify or something, then you're asking for it in that case, and you're gonna take on some liability that you don't really need to do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Dude, we are coming up on an hour already. If you can believe that, man, that went by super, super
Yeah,
fast. Um, so again, Toys Alive is the code word on your website. That's sircollectalottoys.com. If you
you
go to
got
his
it.
YouTube page, actually his Instagram page, we're gonna take a look at that again real quick. Let me share that with everybody so we can see exactly what we're looking at. Bam. How many pieces do you think do you keep a running total of all the pieces that you've done?
And as soon as you said, "Oh, it was like 300 or something," there's so many that are commissions that I don't end up posting. So it's this Instagram is so good for actually acting as like a lifetime portfolio of pieces that I've shared, but there's a lot that I've done for clients that either if a client doesn't share it, I might not share it. If there's any reason that they decide not to, or even if they do, then I still usually will always reach out to make sure that it's cool if I separately do it. Or if it's just like somebody's uncle, it's not interesting to my followers. I'll usually keep that one just not put that one on Instagram. So
Yeah.
no, unfortunately, I don't have a perfect tally of every piece I've done. As I've gotten better at doing taxes, I've gotten better at keeping track of that list. But that's been maybe the last year or two of not even of that. Maybe the last year I've been much better at kind of a good Excel sheet of showing that. And I think it's about 100 plus a year, which is pretty fun.
This was a collab with Slug Toys.
Oh, I think a window up must have popped up. We just see it on my Instagram. So,
Oh
or
shoot.
there's
Okay.
like, it shows the links.
Yeah, shoot, man.
Oh yeah, there is it. I have a Slug Toys. It was one of my first toys I put out, and just I made the packaging design. He made the figure, which I'm always open to. Anybody hit me up, I will probably say yes to doing a collaboration with you in some capacity. I love to
Hmm.
take my mind off of the whole process and just be told, hey, here's a card back I want to do. Can you do the figure? Or hey, I made this figure, but I didn't, especially for actually people that like I know that I do feel a little bit outside of some of the world that you collect. Like, a lot of people that are molding and casting are creating their own characters, which I don't always, get to do. So I'm always open to people kind of hitting me up to do that kind of thing.
Nice. Um, what about collabs? Not collabs, but commissions. There's a link on your site to do commissions.
Yep.
Uh, will you do commissions of, like, let's say somebody called you up and said, "Hey, I, want to do a commission of, my dad, or just somebody that's not famous." Is that something that you do?
Yeah, definitely. I'll always, take on the project. I'll give you a quote, and if you're interested, and I'm down to do it. I'll always ask you to characterize that person a little bit. I'd love when so somebody came to me to do one for their dad for Christmas, um, a couple of years ago, and they just wanted their dad, and they sent me a picture, and I was like, "This is awesome. I can do this, but why don't you tell me a little something about your dad and a way that we could characterize it?" Oh, when he was young, he was a really good boxer and he was really big into boxing. Perfect. Okay, like let's get that. Oh, you have an old image of him from a newspaper clipping? Perfect. We can use that as a base. I'll build the figure around that. So there are just so many ways that you can amplify, make it more of an action figure than just, yeah, can you make my brother? Can you make this? And I will, but I'll always ask you to kind of help me bring it to life in a more interesting way.
Nice. And I think that is, man, I think that really turns it into something special when you can do something like that and really kind of put some flavor of the person in there, and not just a picture and say, okay, well, this looks similar to this guy, and
Totally.
you know, uh, you know, whatever kind of figure it is, but you can add something to it. That's really cool, man. Anything else that you want to get out there before we start moving on?
I don't think so. I think we covered a pretty good range there. It was fun to talk with you.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Thank you for coming on, man. God, dude, I feel like we could talk for much longer. Um, but again, go to sircollectalottoys.com. Take a look at his Instagram account and follow the links. Punch in the code Toys Alive. That will get you 25% off in the show or in the shop. Um, Miles, again, dude, thanks for coming on, man. Phenomenal work. It's no doubt that you have that many followers, and I assume that will just keep on rising. Keep up the killer work, man. It is so cool to see. It's really fun work. And it's really, I mean, when you talk about pop culture pieces, people doing, figures and cards, you are in that elite group, man. Yeah, it is really, really super good work, dude.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, dude. Thanks for coming on. And again, Toys Alive will get you 25% off in Sir Collect a Lot store. Thank you for coming on, dude.
Of course. Appreciate
Right
it.
off, man.
Take care.
Right, take it easy.
Bye, guys.
Boom, Sir Collect a Lot. I'll say it one more time. Go to the sircollectalottoys.com and punch in Toys Alive. That will get you 25% off. What a great guest, though, man. What a really good deep dive into a way of doing this and making a living out of it. Um, which is completely opposite. I don't want to say completely opposite, but it's different than what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are making figures and trying to make runs, or doing small little one-offs or something like that, and it's not necessarily on that. It's more of along the original character line as opposed to the pop culture references, and it all works. But you can see how that style really kind of takes off, especially when you get it in an auction setting. And here we are. And here we are. Yeah, Zimico. That's the sign from Hurt Toys. But he's managed to make a living, doing that. That is freaking awesome. Um, Again, follow Sir Collect a lot. Take a look at. There's some other links on there for some really good interviews and write-ups that he's done. So take a look at those when you get a chance. And again, Toys Alive will get you 25% off in the show, or in the shop. Oh boy. All right. What do we got next on the list? We're going to take a look at a couple pieces real quick. First up is a piece that I snagged from Pocket Salsa at Assembly Required this year. This one this is a Leg Day Garamond. Bam. Really nice multi-pour right there on the legs. Uh, but it does have a little bit, you can't really see it in the camera here, but it does have some translucency to it. Um, this one is UV. You can't see the UV a whole lot. But I thought I saw Pocket Salsa say that this may be the only this might be the only UV one that was done, but still, super sick figure. Again, this came from Pocket Salsa from Assembly Required. Take a look at Pocket Salsa's page. I put his Instagram down there, also his shop at my Shopify. This is another one that he made for me personally, which I thought was really dope. Got that the Oakland A's gold and green on there. Gotta love that. Bam, beat to the nug right there. Yeah, the Garamond, nice figure for sure. It's a great one. Bam. Pocket Salsa, give him a follow, get into the shop, take a look at that. Next one on the list is Kier's Customs. Kier's Customs, oh man, this was great. So Kier's Customs is going to be on the show in March, and we are going to talk about these pieces here. This is another one from Assembly Required. And the process of these is really cool. These are actually perler beads that are melted down and then injected into this mold. But yeah, this is the interdimensional diver is what that is. And this guy actually has a flamethrower. Bam. Really nice work here. It is articulated. It's a smaller figure. It did come with an optional head that I don't have with me. But really nice pour on that, man. I believe he was calling that the Barbie, what was it, like the Barbie cotton candy swirl or something like that. But that's really cool. That's a great one. Love the tubing coming off of there. Nice. It's a really cool piece. That's from Kier's Customs. There's another little Kier's Customs piece. Bam. It's another really cool one. 3D printed, and the paint. Look how small that is. Really cool. Bam. Kier's Customs, Kiers. His Instagram handle is down there at the bottom. He's also got a nice store that you can take a look at. He's got a bunch of pieces in there, and they are definitely on the lower end as far as price goes. So get in there and pick up one of those. The last one that I'm going to show before we get into the giveaways for the night is from Epoch. Epoch. This one was Fancy Fangs. When this one first came out, I knew that I wanted one right away. This is a great looking piece. Epoch stuff is all super top notch. I'm a huge Epoch fan. The other thing that Epoch does with some of his pieces is he gives out this little UV light that comes with it. But that's old Fancy Fangs right there. The UV never transfers or never translates very well on online, but uh, it lights up right away. But hand sculpted, casted, painted, Fancy Fangs from Epoch Art. Great looking piece. These are all sold out. He did multiple runs of these, and I believe these are all sold out. There were some at Designer Con, I believe, but the variations in these ones, I think, were the glasses. The glasses were different colors on a bunch of different on some of them. So yeah, Epoch is on another level, man. I totally agree with that. Retro Zone Neon, yeah, going back to Kier's Customs, if you can get homemade injection stuff working, you can make some really amazing stuff. I agree. And that's going to be really fun to talk to him about when he's on the show in a few weeks. But again, this is Fancy Fangs from Epoch Art. Super sick piece. If you have anything from Epoch, you know he's big on the stickers. Really nice. Nice looking piece. Check that out without the glasses on. Way nice. Yeah, somebody in the comments said, "Do I need a cough drop?" If you haven't noticed, I've been pounding these things like Tic Tacs. Right now, I'm about as sick as I've been in the last probably 3 to 4 years. So, still making it happen. Um, let's jump into some giveaways. All right. Sorry about that. You did not want to hear that cough. Moving on. Yes, that's partly true, Jazz. Coughing and tears. Um, because I keep on seeing all these beautiful pieces. So yeah, there were some tears mixed in there. Let's get to the giveaways. First piece we're going to give away. Actually, first thing we're gonna give away right here. Check out this one. I've actually had this one for a little while. This is a enamel pin from Titty Bean Toys, and it was designed and drawn by Bootleg Sewer Mutant, BSW. So there's the pin right there. Check that out. Nice. Titty Bean Toys. Sam just went through a big move recently. Wish that dude well. Really nice stickers too. Bam. So that's the first one we're going to do. It's just a little pack like that. And then we also have a pile up from Rec Shop Resin. Rec Shop Resin, Titty Bean Toys, and Bootleg Sewer Mutant. Make sure that you're following all those artists. All great artists. All right. I believe we got up to 40 this week on the spins. So let's share the screen and do the first giveaway. All right, here we go. Good luck, everybody. This is for the Rec Shop Resin piece and the Titty Bean enamel pin. Here we go. Number 19. And number 19 is 19. Who is 19? Let's see. Look at that. How about that one? Dirty Yeti is the winner of that one. Number 19. Very nice. There's some information about the giveaways that we're doing tonight. But Dirty Yeti, you have won, my dude. This is going straight to Michigan for the pin and for the sticker and for the Rec Shop resin piece. Dirty Yeti. If you haven't watched last week's episode, check it out. Dirty Yeti did a heck of a job on here. Some really cool stuff. I know that he was running a sale in his store. Make sure you get in there and check out some of his stuff too. Some really cool work. So congrats, Dirty Yeti. Let me mark that down. That is to Dirty Yeti. Boom. On to the next one. This one was donated by none other than Pocket Salsa at Assembly Required. I was a teenage ball tan is what this one is. Really nice multi-pour. Chunky piece. Solid, heavy, really nice looking piece here. All right, let's spin the wheel for this one. All right, good luck, everybody. Here we go. For the Pocket Salsa, I was a teenage ball tan. Number 5. Number 35 is, how about that? Stormico Station. Bam. Stormico Station, you have won, my friend. Let's mark that one down. Stormico gets the Pocket Salsa piece. Dirty Yeti and Pocket Salsa, if you guys could send me your addresses, if you could just DM me either on the show account or on my personal account, and make sure I have your addresses. I might have them already. I can't remember if I do or not, but if you could just email me or shoot me a DM. Yeah. Cool, man. Those are two really cool winners. Dirty Yeti and Stormico Station, both artists from here in the scene. Check out both their pages if you're not already. Both great guys. So now the last one, man, this is a banger right here. So this is another DKE box. So we're going to start off nice and easy with the DKE official sticker. Of course, you get that, right? You get the Invisible Sucklord piece. We were just talking about empty blisters. Here's a really good one. The wording on here is cool. If you read it and then kind of apply it to Sucklord, it's a great piece. And they're just kind of like, kind of cheap, whatever, but it makes sense. It's a cool piece. You'll get one of those. You will get a Suckathon Season 1 DVD. Tons of artists listed on there. You will get a copy of Manly Art Magazine. It's got some artwork by Jason Chalker. Some paintings in there. Very cool. And the main attraction for that one is this piece here by Attack Peter. Peter Santa Maria. Check those out. This is an edition of 40. This one's number 20. Really cool. Man, Attack Peter. That's a box going out to somebody. Let's see who's going to win that one. That's a great box right there. Thanks again to DKE for supplying those. Uh, DKE Toys, get over there and take a look at his shop. Always chock full of stuff. Bam, here we go. All right, for the DKE box, good luck, everybody. Number 40. That was the last entry of the night, and that is Adrift Slightly. Bam. Bam. So there you go. Adrift Slightly wins the DKE box. That's the DKE box. Bam. Nice. And if you didn't win tonight, make sure that you tune in next week because we'll have more giveaways, and we have more of those boxes to give away too. I think so far I've sent out maybe 3 or 4 of those boxes, and Dove was kind enough to send the show 30 of those packages. So we'll be giving those out all year. We'll not every single week, but maybe every other week, something like that. We can definitely get some more of these out there. There's some Attack Peter pieces. There is some Wookiee hash pipe pieces in there. There's a bunch of Broke One pieces in there. Some really cool stuff. So kind of a shorter show tonight, guys. I'm a little under the weather, like I said, so we're going to end it a little bit early. But next week is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Apocalyptico 3, we're going to go through all the pieces. There's going to be Lab Monkey 9 is going to be in the house. Fletch. What up, Fletch? Lab Monkey 9 will be in the house. There's a bunch of incredible artists in there, and this show is consistently, the Apocalyptico show is consistently one of the best ones out there, in my opinion. You guys are going to see some wild stuff. There's a ton of artists in this one. A lot of people that are even in the room right now. Thank you, man. Thanks, Miles. I appreciate that, dude. And honestly, man, it's a pleasure to do this, man. And and I think Dove would probably share the same thing, man. A lot of it's done out of passion, and it's artists like Sir Collect a Lot and Attack Peter and Pocket Salsa and Kiers and Epoch and Pocket Salsa. And it's that whole, it's everybody who makes this up. We talk about never ending content, just kind of the world news and stuff that's going on is just kind of like a never ending content machine. And that's the exact way that I feel about this community is if you guys are making, I want to report on it. If you're selling it, I want to advertise it. If you're trying to do something, I want to promote it. And you guys deliver every single day, not just Sir Collect a Lot, but everybody out there. I mean, I think the show, everybody knows that the room is mostly made up of artists. And for artists and collectors alike, it's just a really fun thing to be a part of. It's an absolute pleasure to report on it. That's why I don't mind doing it. If I'm sick or not, it doesn't matter because it's still fun in the end. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Thanks again to my guest, Sir Collect a Lot. Awesome account. Super cool dude. You guys go check him out. Make sure you jump in his shop, Sir Collect a Lot Toys. Enter Toys Alive for a whopping 25% off. I will see you next week on episode 94, covering Apocalyptico 3. Have a safe weekend, everybody. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself mentally. That's important. We talk about it. We haven't talked about it in a while. It's important to take care of yourself physically and mentally. Why? Because there's people out there who love you, starting with me. All right? You guys have a safe weekend. I'll catch you on the flip.